Hello, 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 Cancer, and ho, 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 Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So this is just a quick preview to basically the guts of the reading. Well, we have Yang. Yang is like that masculine principle. It's kind of like emotion. Look, it's the energy created. So it is kind of like going in the action. And then you also have Tor or Teresa's rune, which is the rune of boundaries, right? You see, they used to have these bushes full of thorns as the boundaries. Of course, you will get all scratched if you even try to get through it. And so basically it looks to me that everything has to have some kind of like limits, how far you push. And that's why we have acceptance. There are like certain things that maybe cannot be pushed forward, but maybe they can, because there is also expectancy. And what a lovely card to get with this Christmas gifts coming up. So let's see what else do we have in a store and start with the main reading. Hi Cancer, and welcome to your December, sending you off for the rest of the year reading. So look at this, you have 2 6s on the bottom. This is definitely talking, and it's like Queen of Water, which would be you. It is kind of like sending something off, closing something off. Yes, I do know we are going through Mercury retrograde. Many of us have longings, and like now like there are 2 things in one. It's both Mercury retrograde and Christmas season, and just Christmas season is bad enough to make people feel they're longing for somebody, and there's like this elusive quality. And now there is like another very, very thick layer of Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, right? So it is like something over here that is telling me that maybe you did something where you felt, quote unquote, you won. So e.g., like like you walk away from a relationship, everything is okay, and now when the dust finally settled, well, you're like looking back and thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I overreacted. I wonder what he is doing, wonder what she is doing. Kind of like, should I contact? And vice versa, right? Happening. This is clearly saying that somebody felt they have lost, because look at here in 6 of Wands, we see clearly the winner. I got a bird, and all of you kind of like, too bad, right? So there is clearly a need when this card shows up that you're kind of acknowledging people around you. So even if you are not for kind of like renewing something old, something left in the past, even though I have to tell you, you're going to be very, very tempted. It's going to be that nostalgic feeling, memories kind of a thing. And it could be also that people will emerge from the past that have been deep, deep, deep down in the past, all the way back to your school years. So I think the time where we have all these Facebook wishes and we send to our schoolmates and so on and so forth might actually spark something that could be kind of like romance. It could be somebody who maybe at the time you haven't noticed, or maybe just like you really felt, you know, they are not in your league, but things kind of like shift and change. So maybe it's also time of reckoning where, you know, there's like kind of like really need to understand that maybe somebody is just not good for you, because this could have been that you were not the one who have been, I guess, fulfilled at like this big cup, which is like these 2 big cups that we have. It looks like, look at this, like we have the 3rd 6, have been connected to issues that have had kind of lack of clarity, possibly even jealousy, possibly even issues with other people kind of like putting their finger on it, and something just really couldn't evolve or develop further. It may be kind of like you felt that you're slighted. Maybe you felt you were kind of like a second fiddle in that relationship, and you never kind of like found your footing. And you're Cancer, you know how Cancer moves sideways and forward, and contrary to the popular belief, Cancer actually does move really, really fast. Only thing there is like sometimes confusion, and there is like a lots of strategy in it. That's why we have a card in tarot, Chariot, and that kind of like personifies Cancer. It's one of the fastest cards that there is. So let's leave this to soulmate things, because definitely it's going to be something where I think you're breaking through the pattern, but just let's see how will this really play out. So the first card you have, and look at that, you had a 5, and here like 6, and now you have the 5. So what's basically happening here? We have the battle. Everybody kind of like wants this little mousey or the bird or whatever is like the target of this kind of like all interlude. And sometimes, like, I mean, the game becomes more important than why are you in there, right? So basically what happens over here, that somebody is emerging as a winner. But this is clearly saying the almost the opposite, that maybe it was a lot of setting boundaries, maybe the walls were too high, maybe things were not getting anywhere, and then maybe somebody feel they won, but they really didn't in the end. Kind of remember, we have this torn over here, so this is clearly telling me that it is about, you know, the line in the sand. And it goes both ways. This line has that side and that side, and it is like something that you need to learn both to enforce and also to insist. So this is being crossed with 2 of Wands reversed. So it is clarity about some direction, and it is unfortunate clarity about why certain things couldn't go forward, and why, you know, you still cannot help the feelings the way you feel. But this is clearly talking about, look, this cup here is in the past, and one of these wands, as you can see here, is bolted. So this is kind of like referring to something strong and something kind of like that we have already accepted emotionally. But then we have like these damn swords over here, right? And this sort of like seems to be loosey-goosey, and swords represent words and exchanges with people, and it could be that struggle. It could be like, you know, that you maybe have like these nice memories, but as soon as you go down that memory lane, you go, oh yeah, I remember there were like lots of arguing as well, and there were harsh words, and maybe there's like this understanding, kind of like, okay, if I did differently, how would it work out? And then it hits you, well, you know what, looks like he or she would still find reasons to kind of like mess up this entire situation. And like there's like interesting combination that is happening over here. Yes, you're probably recovering from somebody you couldn't trust, somebody who kind of like used the opportunity to do whatever they could behind your back. And this is really a harsh card to really look at it, but there is like something that most people completely miss. First of all, look, there are gifts being brought forward, and those gifts are basically starry dust. So this really talks about, and it's very much in sync with that young card. Also, you did have a King of Swords and 2 of Swords, both reversed, jumping out as I was shuffling. So it's kind of really telling me it's going to be a lot of positioning. We are going through Mercury retrograde. When Mercury retrograde is there, we sometimes say things that we really don't mean, so that's why they say be very careful sending those emails, kind of like read them 3, 5, 10 times, wait until the next day, don't do things in effect, because the damage that can be done during Mercury retrograde can be permanent, and you cannot undo it. And the same kind of like way, like we get things from the past back to the surface because we need to deal with certain things that have been or are very important from the past. So what has been in the past? There was definitely somebody's King of Wands. You put somebody on the pedestal, and yes, this could be somebody who was born in a sign of Leo, but it could be simply just a fire sign, or somebody who kind of like to you represented something really important. This also could mean that somebody put you on a pedestal and you felt really good, and hence this fall kind of like has been kind of too much. The only thing is like that this person was the right person, right? It's not like, I mean, reverse King of Swords. It's like somebody manipulative, somebody who knows how to say the right words at the right time, but they are not true, right? This person actually is like very action oriented, doing things, and kind of like really maybe made you feel like, I mean, the lives were meshed, the lives were kind of like connected, right? But something kind of like got in the way. Maybe the two of you didn't see things eye to eye. Maybe these boundaries, in establishing the boundaries, there were harsh words, and then maybe simply kind of like things flown in that direction. Because I really think this is kind of like that person that really need to feel, and almost like it feels like this is more or less talking to women who are listening, because this person really needed to feel very masculine, and all these arguments kind of like made him feel even like he felt really, really harsh, right? And like it's not the nature of this person, and kind of like a really almost like was left no option. And yet it could be that something in you has been triggered with this person's actions, which didn't necessarily happen. Okay, let me repeat to you. It's kind of like when we have the veil, when we have karmic lessons, and I do that through my karma reading. So that way certain people, karmic soulmates, come to our life and they push these buttons because we actually really want to let the steam out and release that one kind of like obstacle once for all, right? And kind of like go back in the action and kind of like new challenges. And sometimes these kind of like buttons are kind of like existing there from childhood. For example, a father really has to work because it's maybe kind of like the sole breadwinner in the family, and so you're remembering as a child that father is never at home, and you're kind of longing to find a man of your life who's going to spend more time with you, and instead you're replicating this kind of like double whammy, that you're finding somebody who is A, very reliable, somebody who is really breadwinner and working really hard, but also B, somebody who is not there. So even though basically this whole thing just like still repeat of the same thing, you're seeing it differently because you see, you kind of like, I don't know if grudge is the good word for it, you have it kind of buried. This is the issue you need to deal with, right? So what is it? It's discussion. What do we want? Do we really need this much money? Or how can I contribute, right? That's kind of like a thing where I see was out of balance over here. So look at this, it's crowning you with 9 of Cups. This is a really lovely card, and especially after this, what you have been through, guys, and it looks like, yeah, you really needed a soft place to fall. And maybe this is why you kind of like go into kind of like safety of your memories, because memories are safe and they're not going to harm you, right? But this is really talking about some kind of like satisfaction, and not in a sense like, I told you so, rather in a sense like where there's like this soft cushion. You see this like very cushion here that maybe somebody really want to pierce through and not let you have it. You're actually realizing that, okay, the worst is over. This is kind of like now this like, I mean, fairy dust that is around you. You might be getting some kind of like messages, and you might still kind of like experience either yourself or somebody else might be really jealous over things. They're like something that you really, really wanted, and you were almost getting it, but you didn't get it on your terms. And that's exactly the point you had to learn, that instead of like focusing on a very kind of like singular thing where you kind of just say, well, I want this table and it has to be black with gold rivets and it has to have sharks swimming around this, then you get something that is like really totally bizarre. What about, I need table that is like perfect for this place? See, like kind of like that, you're giving energetically more options. So that's like something where you are actually entering this particular month. And there is the Emperor. This is now a really good combination. This is something immediately happening. It's a sense of stability. It's a sense of feeling that you're actually doing and creating mature decisions. It is a feeling of being on the top of the world. This card generally is linked to Aries, so I don't know if you have any Aries in life, and that can be a really, really positive development, whether it is Aries or it is a new person coming to your basically heart. So this is really good, having King of Wands, and this is better because this is great and this is the best, because like now this is the king of the kings. This person is who understands all the facets. Like, I mean, I need to be passionate, I need to be emotional, I need to be strict and logical as well, and I also need to know how to maintain my kingdom's wealth. So it's kind of like somebody who has like all this kind of like, as you can see, 4 different layers, right? So you can see like you need to have the fire in your belly, you need to kind of couple it with proper emotions, and this is coupled with the proper basically words. However, money is still important, even though not the most important thing. It just like comes as a result of everything else. This also can be very encouraging career-wise. I know December is kind of tough for looking for a job because everybody knows the holidays and nobody's really working much. And I always, like when I was hiring, I would always hire people for December, because this time is like just amazing to train people, and kind of like it's that easygoing where you also kind of like see people in their on their best when they're like not kind of like edgy. Like in January, everybody's like hating to be back to work, and this is really, really good. This also can actually talk about promotion. It could, this if I'm thinking in the terms of career, that somebody slighted you, that maybe you were supposed to move forward and you didn't. So funny enough, now during the Mercury retrograde, certain things can possibly reverse and come back, and you might actually get what you wanted. So let's see your feelings, and voila, here you are, the Chariot. Another thing is like you had the 5 of 2, which is 7, and that's basically the number of vibration of your basically card. And it's like here, it's definitely talking about you fully understanding who you are and what you need. Chariot is absolutely lovely card, because you see he doesn't have any kind of like strings attached over here, and yet he needs to kind of like move forward. So what is that moving forward? It's that sheer will and sheer enthusiasm. And plus, let's not forget that we have this young, this kind of creative, almost like magician style energy that is happening. So I really like the combination of the two. This is kind of going forward, and not necessarily as a couple though, or fully understanding that what is it you need in order to move forward, right? So we have like these 2 beautiful peacocks. One is albino, one is the regular one. And actually I have a picture in High Park in Toronto, like we have a mini zoo, and there is like one albino peacock. It's such a gorgeous creature. Now this really, to me, more or less represents black and white thinking, that solutions are kind of like looked for on the edges, not in the middle. So the solutions are actually really gray, right? A gray hat is like something good, something bad, sort of like understanding that the package deal is always there, that you will get many good things, but you're going to get a package with that, right? So there is like something to understand, just like all of us, we kind of like have this duality. Now this is clearly to me about something karmic that is happening. This is like clearly telling me about, I really like that, especially in this category, about who you are, about your feelings, about your new direction. Because look at what a big change from something feeling on the bottom to boom, I'm going. So all of that stuff, all of the barriers, all of the things that you couldn't get through are actually now starting to open gates, and you're going to start even feeling emotionally fulfilled. So this kind of like makes sense that right now it's going to be completely different. While you really wanted this relationship that somehow have either rusted parts or just didn't happen, or you felt, you know, violated, or certain things ended, so it kind of like crushed you, all of a sudden the same things will be able to happen, and will be able to happen with better communication. Or with just like simply understanding. And yet now, when it's like so easy, you're kind of hesitant going forward. You're going like, no, I'm not so sure if I should really do that, because I feel very powerful and I feel kind of like really strong in my position. This is about control, it's about inner maturity, it's about understanding all of these different elements, that sometimes you just don't say certain things, and that makes you more powerful than basically, you know, disintegrating somebody in a small little kind of like shreds, because, you know, the British say the revenge is best served cold, kind of a thing. I really don't think anything is going to be about revenge, and that's the best part over here. Like, you guys really found, and that's maybe why I have this acceptance card. You really found, and it says welcome here at the doorway. I don't know, can you see it here? And it's not that so much that you're accepting, but you're accepted somewhere. And I really think that's because you actually really didn't have that adage, tooth for tooth, and you decided to be a much bigger person, you know? What is that Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high? That's nothing like that. This is like, no, I am this way. I want to create this future destiny for me, and I know maybe it feels like I'm losing, maybe it feels like I can push through, but no, I kind of like feel okay about that. And why don't I just simply expect the best in this situation? So let's see your environment. Well, you have a Page of Wands, which is kind of good. So that's why it means that somebody from the past who is no longer there, with whom you had all these issues, or maybe it's on and off kind of relationship, that right now we have possibly kind of like re-energizing, returning. Hey, how are you? It's not going to be like, hey, you know, there's a bouquet of flowers. So that's not basically Knight of Cups. This is a Page of Wands. Somebody who is showing interest, but still is just like touching things around, not really willing to commit, but definitely has a big interest in it. And it can be really fiery. You can be invited for a date. And as I said, this could be like that soulmate feeling with somebody who you maybe even crossed out, saying that's not going to work. I don't think that I should be working on this, and so on and so forth. It's going to be different this time around. For those of you who are actually looking for somebody new, it might be actually quite a few possibilities. Somebody from the past, you know what this is, somebody old, something new, something blue. For you, it's going to be something right that kind of like satisfy you, somebody who can be really energetic. So there is like this fire and water, sort of like steamy relationship, could be like really big attraction. And also it could be like, I mean, somebody from the past, kind of like somehow acknowledging certain things, and you're going to feel a very flirty attitude in that respect. So you see, let's see your hopes and your fears. So that's Queen of Wands, and she's reversed. So now that's why it is. There was like a coupling that it shows it's not a couple. So your fear is like things are not going to work out. Your hopes, of course, are things will work out, and we will like be kind of like two peas in a pod, right? So that pod, if it's going to happen or not, I don't know. But like the Black Kitty, when she reverses, so that's Matrix, a Queen of Wands cat, right? So this kitty here is telling us don't say everything. So this is kind of like telling that about overdoing things. It's kind of like normal, and actually it's even good that if you're trying to come back with your person from the past, that you need to discuss what went wrong in order to repair that pipe that kind of like burst, right? Without that, eventually it's again going to kind of like react under pressure. But sometimes there's a thing as over talking, where maybe you're addressing certain things that don't need to be addressed, and because both people kind of like feel like a sandpaper, it's kind of like really easy to rub each other the wrong way, and hence it's like better to say less and kind of like go through the transition with possibly kind of like action, because like you're not going to act. Yes, you're going to act internally as a Cancer. Your emotions will be there and like really finely tuned, but you're going to be very active. This is going to be really interesting time. So where is this all heading? And look at this, there's a Queen of Pentacles. So now we have tons of people. So Queen of Pentacles means that could be another person that is somehow involved. This could be an ex. It could be like maybe that somebody was separated and kind of like was sitting on two chairs. Maybe not even sitting on two chairs, but maybe you didn't like the situation that ex is still having this big influence. This also could mean that, you know, you are now kind of like free to think a little bit differently about this. But both of these queens can be very manipulative. So for you guys, for Cancer guys, you might have a little kind of like drama this month. you will kind of like be considered that kind of like prize, that kind of like it sucks to be you, everybody will really want to be with you, but you will kind of like more than anything want to kind of like really enjoy something newfound, other self-appreciation, or saying to yourself like, I mean, I don't have that anymore, I don't have this cloud, and look at this, like actually other people are really responding well to me. So it's almost like going to be everybody's chasing everybody, but everybody's chasing you kind of a thing. And you might also have like quite a few suitors over here, so it's going to be extremely sociable thing over here that absolutely is interesting. So let's talk about these kind of like boundaries a little bit, because this guy here really needs to understand how to govern these two peacocks to move forward, right? Because this like thorny nature of this kind of like runestone is kind of like talking about emotional boundaries, not necessarily just don't go and don't break into my house, and you probably know. So crossing the line, that line in the sand that I was mentioning about, it can also represent this like danger. And I really think the danger comes here with overdoing things. So it's kind of like warning that people around you might be dishonest, and I really think this is specifically coming for Cancer men, because I think women are pretty much going to be the one, well, if you're a Cancer woman, you will be the one who is going to be told, well, you don't know what you want, why don't you make your mind up? But if you're a Cancer man, you're going to feel that all women, everybody you're meeting is somehow just asking from you what you cannot give. But women are going to be in a better position, because all this like men or partners waiting for them is going to be really, really interesting. So this is actually also very important if it comes to any part of business dealing, right? Because definitely there's like something about timely warning, and kind of like it's urging vigilance, and it's advising against taking unnecessary risks. So kind of like be prepared to defend yourself, because after all, I still did see that King of Swords kind of jumping out. And lastly, let's really talk about this action, because new things, and when we change, and change really scares people. Cancers are one of those people who will really get scared with change, because this is not a little change, this is a big change, right? So this is the power of action, and sort of like the energies that propel this kind of like entire world forward. And when we are really manifesting this energy and desires in the form, as you can hear, my neighbor just decided to do something. So circumstances are really supporting action, and that's what we see here from this energetic kind of like Aries kind of stance. So you guys need to trust that you will quickly know where you stand. And as far as the heart, it's kind of like really important to go forward with assurance. It's kind of like clear to me that these two cards are syncing, and it's kind of like really important for you to take the lead. So passion is in the air, and it's actually really going to be a great time to kind of like dance to the tune of love. So just kind of like join it. So expect it, accept it, and enjoy it. So guys, things are not going to repeat the way they were. They're going to be better, much better. But do not forget that you acknowledge people around you and everything they're doing for you, because that's going to take you so much like further than you actually ever imagined. So my dear Cancer, one more thing. This is my challenge month, because I really would like to know who is on the other side of my videos. So if you can just stop by and say hi, and just say where you're from, that kind of like would really mean a lot to me, and I really would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you haven't subscribed, just click on this button. You're going to get notifications on lives on Saturdays that I have, Saturdays 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's always an opportunity for somebody to win a really quick one question kind of like learn tarot reading or get tarot reading. So this is good. And also, if you really can, I would really hope you can support this channel by ordering your annual readings. So as you see, they're like very inexpensive receive $19.95 for one, or $39.95 for all signs. They're going to be done by the end of the year, and that's really meaningful to me to kind of like continue pushing this forward. Thank you guys so much, and I really hope you have all wonderful holidays, all this pretty Christmas, and ho ho ho. I wish you all the best. I'm going to leave you with Safi congratulating in her own way. Love you guys.